I think from an early age, stand-up paddling, we never thought would be something that we'd go into. I think we never really heard of it until I was 12 or 13 years old. We'd grow up playing hockey, soccer, running. We were always active as a kid, but finding stand-up paddling, it really allowed us to channel our focus into one sport, really put all our time and effort, and I think it's something that we've really enjoyed and that we want to put even more time and effort into, and I think we're starting to see how that's developing.
Yeah, when he started paddling around that age, one of the reasons that I was slow to start was that I thought I had found my sport. I had taken a lot of passion into ice hockey. I was going to a lot of cool places, having a lot of fun with people I really enjoyed spending time with. And I had never really been into this community. And well, once I stepped into it, once I followed in his footsteps, I really saw how fantastic it is to be a part of this amazing sport.
I chose paddleboarding. I started doing a kids camp a while ago. Really liked it. I'd been doing kayaking before. I just loved the water, being outside, and I'd done a lot of sports in my life. Did the first race maybe a couple days into it, really liked it. Decided to kind of, see where it goes. Did it for a year. He joined on, and it kind of just went from there. It's just a sport that, it's a really tight community. Everyone's nice. It's fun just being out on the water.
Kind of an interesting story about that is how we really got into it. After that camp, we went to, our family has a lake house in Vermont, and we went there for the summer, and normally we'll be kayaking. That's where we started getting into water sports, but there was a really old windsurfer. So we took the keel out of it and put it in the water, and we'd get canoe paddles and we'd paddle it together, and we just called that paddleboarding. We couldn't stand up on it because it was super low volume, but we thought it was super fun. We'd stand on either side of it and try and knock each other off. And doing things like that, that's how we got the balance and really connection with the water. For me, paddleboarding is a few things. It's not just a sport and a competition, but more importantly, it's a real connection with the environment and the community. I mean, every time we go out, we are in the environment, we're on the water, so we can really see the effect of everything around us, whether that's boat traffic, or even in a time like today, just the calmness that the water can bring. And then it's also the competition and community. I mean, it is a competition, so on the water, people are trying to win, but in the end, people are there to have a good time and make sure everybody's safe out there. It can get quite dangerous, but in the end, the best feeling is when you come back from a race and it's not immediately like, he won, he did this, he came here. It's immediately congratulating everybody on their race because everybody is finished and everybody had a great time.
First contact with the race was 2 days into my first kids camp, showing up to that first weekly race, having no idea how to race, just kind of thinking, all right, I'm going around some islands, let's see how it goes. Coming dead last, but still having a great time, telling my parents, all right, I want to start doing this now. I don't know what they thought of that, sitting their 12-year-old out in the middle of the ocean, not being able to see me for 2 hours, but I don't know, did that, and then from there started to get into the BC Sup Cup races throughout the province. Those were really fun, kind of able to see different parts of the area and different people, different communities, and it just really kind of opened your eyes to how big this sport is actually becoming. And then from there, being able to get the opportunity to be lucky enough to go down to places like Oregon for the Hood River Challenge and just really see that elite competition. So I think, it started from just weekly races, but now it's grown into other races that even progress our interest in the sport even more.
So when I started racing, I was a bit intimidated by the community at first. From our backgrounds in competitive sport, I thought it was all competitive. So my first experience with a race in the Cove, why are you laughing about that? You know what I'm going to say. So I actually was too scared to even race. So we normally start on this side, right along the beach here, but I started way over there. I paddled the exact same course as everybody else. Obviously I was near the back, but I never actually partook in the race. I just paddled the same course. I was too intimidated to do it. I actually did that for a couple weeks in a row until actually registering in a race. And then similar thing to him after that, you just hooked on the fun of the sport and kept going in the same progression, and now we've taken it to a higher level. Something that we've both had success in a race that we really enjoy is in the race in Hood River, the Gorge Paddle Challenge. We've raced there for 3 years now. I think first year we both are really humbled at the competition. It's, second ranked as the biggest race?
Yeah,
it's like top. It's the second biggest race in stand-up paddleboard, and I was able to place third in both races. at 16 in a U18 race to two 18-year-olds. So that was probably the biggest one for me.
I think for me it was probably 2017 winning the men's tech race. First year in the men's division, having just coming out of U18. It was, I don't know, I kind of came in with no expectations, just kind of have fun. But I think that kind of shows how racing is. Go out there and have fun, and you never know what can happen. For us, I think Blackfish was a company that we'd seen coming up throughout the years as we'd started to progress as well. It attracted us being such a local company. We'd known the people through paddling, meeting David. It was something that really attracted to us, and trying out their paddles, we were really impressed with how they're made, the construction of them, and just how they feel in our hands. We really love them.
And similar to what we were talking about earlier, Blackfish has a very strong connection with the community and also with the environment, which is something we really value. We understand that paddles, carbon fiber, things like that are things that are difficult to manufacture and they can cause a lot of waste, but we know that Blackfish does a really good job of trying to control what they make into a quality product that still isn't a large carbon footprint, so that we are actually able to paddle on the waters that we want to without, them going to waste. So we both paddle the Andaman for short course racing and most of the racing that we do. What we both like about this paddle is that it's a 520 blade circumference, so that you can still put a lot of power into each stroke, but it still is not a huge blade, so you can get a really high cadence on it as well.
I personally like the Andaman the most just because it's a nice in-between paddle. I have a lot of distance races isn't my strong suit, so something like that's a good in-between paddle, helps conserve your muscles through a long race. So it's kind of a good all-around paddle that I can still use in sprint and tech races as well. So I think Andaman is our personal favorite.
So other paddles you could use for different kinds of paddling. Other paddles that Blackfish made, for example, this is another really good racing paddle. This is the Salish. It has a really small blade. What that means is its cadence is super quick and the catch on it is fantastic. I used this paddle for quite a long time and I really enjoyed it. While still being a very small blade that turns over quickly, it can take a lot of power still into the small blade.
Another one that we use kind of like for the surfing that we do on the West Coast in Tofino is the Nootka. It's a really good all-around surf paddle. It's a tough durability, which in the Tofino waters is definitely needed. I think that the fish skin really helps conserve it. I really like the shape of it, especially in the surf. I appreciate a more rounder blade, just a nice smoother catch, easier on the hands, and when you're trying to move around, it's a lot more responsive, I find.
When you're in a surf environment, you're going to really beat up your paddle, whether that's bracing, getting on a wave, or anything in between. And the Nook is beefed up to take that, especially in the fish skin construction. You can really put it through anything, and it's still going to be a high-performance light paddle. For me, my future is really undefined, but all I can do now is try and push so that my future is the highest point. Right now, for me, at this age of kind of 17, growing up, I'm really looking towards the future. Whether that is ISA. ISA recently has introduced a junior category, so I would like to compete in that before I age out of the category. And then from then on, we both kind of have similar goals, is that through the Pan Am Games, SUP is starting to be introduced, and there are rumors that are starting to turn more solid in 2024 in the Paris Summer Olympic Games, that stand-up paddleboarding will be there, and I think for both of us, that's where we see ourselves the best trajectory going, but I think it's a, shoot for the moon. Even if you don't, you miss, you land among the stars. So I think we're just trying to get as best as we can when we get to that prime age and just try and show the world what we have.